Check, check, mic check. Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing? Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Phil Rice. Welcome to the Phil Rice YouTube channel. Just going to hang out for a bit, wait for a few more people to show up. Wow, just cool. What's happening? You guys doing well? Pretty good. So, what's happening out there? Let me know in the comments if you can hear and see me okay, please. That would be really greatly appreciated. Just hanging out here. It's Friday, about 9:30-ish. Here in Auckland, New Zealand, down the bottom half of the planet. We're coming out the backside of winter into spring. There's all sorts of beautiful flowers and baby animals, and but the transitional part's pretty crazy. Like the wind here, and the other day it was freezing cold, and it was a huge wind blowing, and then yesterday it was actually quite nice. But like I said in another cast, Auckland's on this weird strip of land, and so we're subject to some out of it weather, out of it. And it is a sort of a local colloquialism for just quite strange, bizarre, intriguing type of stuff. But anyway, what's happening, everyone? Oh, there's someone there. Hello, whoever's there. Thank you so much for joining in. So, just turn that off. My goodness, there is so much going on out there, isn't there? There is so much going on. I've sometimes wondered about doing a general sort of like show, just like I've kind of been doing. It's just becoming what it is. My heart's in, the various works that I've been developing for myself over the years and that. But there's so much to talk about, There's your practice, and then there's how you can operate in the world as a practicer. And, you have maybe a different sort of mode of operation than the average person, because as you develop sense faculties as a starting point, you receive new data, and it gives you new angles on familiar data that maybe sort of alters your decision making in some way or another. So, yeah, I've after sort of just playing around with the channel and sort of doing interviews and things like that, and the live panels, I guess one of the cool things is this live streaming. I can just show up and press the go button. I don't have to do too much planning. Like, I've got some more people coming on, and we've got to do a bit of planning for that, and that can take a bit of time too. Got to do a bit of research myself. There's always the graphics and setting things up, but just being able to sit down and say, hi, everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining me. And just jumping in, just talking, hanging out with you guys. Had some great feedback the other day. I've actually been getting quite a bit of good feedback about the channel, which is lovely. It's very encouraging. I'm very grateful for it. One of the bros who's he's a hard man to please in a lot of ways. He accidentally stumbled upon one of these live streams that I've done just myself, and he really enjoyed it. And he's in film and production, and he was like, "Bro, that was actually pretty good. It was decent, awesome. Maybe I found a thing, right?" So just do a quick shout out to violetflamestudios.co.nz for sponsoring this month's live streaming software. Thank you, Violet Flame. And while I'm here, I'm actually going to give them a plug too, I think, because they had their Kickstarter start this week, and it's pretty awesome. It is. It's actually really awesome. So they've got some backers lining up, slowly building up. So please go check out their website, violetflamestudios.co.nz. Go and check out, all the stuff they're doing, and they're doing a whole bunch of stuff. They've got this game coming out. They've got a playable demo coming out on Steam in the next couple of 3 weeks. So that'll be fun because, you'll be able to basically play what this what these efforts have produced, and the fruit is quite impressive in some ways. Now, it is a little bit, it is it's a hard game, so maybe it's not for everybody, but that's okay. All right, so let's get back to this one. Cool. Yeah, so what's been happening, everybody? I have to say that as the weather gets a bit warmer here, there's a bit more liveliness in the air, and that's very welcomed, I have to say. After we haven't had a full-on cold winter, but it has been a winter nonetheless. And towards the end, people get worn out. There's a lot of indoors time. There's more energy required to power the body. Obviously, it's cooler, so the body needs to work a bit harder to produce the heat that it needs, and these types of things. So this is obviously down in the southern hemisphere where I am. And so, we're coming into our summer in the next couple of months, and it's really lovely in New Zealand in the summer. It gets pretty warm here. I'm sure wherever you are, it probably gets quite warm too. But just how the sun brings out the smiles and the liveliness and the new growth. Very cool, very enjoyable, very nourishing, and we've got a section of bush, like a little mini forest down the back of the section here, and that is going nuts at the moment because we've had a bit of rain and we're having a bit of warmth and a bit of sun. It's not that great today, I have to say, but as far as like the wildlife goes, there's lots of ducklings around, and we have to watch out for them because they oh dear, there's lots of roads and things, and so can be quite challenging for small little animals. Okay. So let's see here. What I might do. Okay. Just going to do some stuff. So just hang with me, guys. Okay. All right. Okay, so cheers. So where's everyone at with their practice? What's happening? You guys want to talk about that? Are you getting your daily reps in? Are you finding new benefit and new joy in your practice every day? Or is it every other day? How's your journaling? Are you discovering the great benefit of journaling, of making notes and then going back, reviewing them and going, oh wow, man, I've made some observations. It's easy to forget things. And it's like rocking the beads here, using your beads to reaffirm things to yourself, because you've got the world is a very persistent place, and the nature of what we do, as practices is that we're essentially kind of reforming our worldview, and the outside world and society in that, which may not be so, I'm not going to say it's not friendly towards it, but maybe it's just largely unaware of it. There are exoteric methods of connecting with divine. In other words, there's the church, which is wonderful in its own way. And there's everyone just doing stuff and getting on with their lives, as I'm sure many of you guys are. But it's easy to sort of like start slipping back into old ways of thinking, or just like, is this real? These types of things. And when we go back through our journal, we go, oh yes, I wrote that down. Was I lying to myself? I don't think so. Taking notes is really good. And, finding ways to keep your practice interesting, and because it can be, can be a bit of a slog sometimes, can't it? It's a grind. But I think approaching it with a light heart, and like Nathan said to me last week on the show, or shared with the group, was beginner's mind. Just sit down and go, okay, I wonder what's going to happen today. You do your practice, and it's rewarding in its own way. But yeah, the journaling is highly valuable in the respect that it will remind you. The thing is that you've got to take notes. You've got to mark your progress and your experiences. I have a stack of dream journals, a big stack of them, and I'll just randomly flick through and pick out, be like, oh yeah, that was a cool dream, or whatever it was, and that was relevant then, or maybe it's like I can take something from it now. But I have an archive of experiential data that I have recorded that I can refer back to. And that is a nourishment in and of itself. It's wonderful. It really is. It's very wonderful. And what else? What about things like pore breathing, going out into nature and exploring, how you can sense vitality in the ambient environment in a forest setting, and then also in a more of an indoor setting. And there's going to be a level of vitality in an indoor setting, and there's environmental sorts of variables there. But there should be a reasonably stark contrast between, you sitting in your room doing the pore breathing and you going out into the woods or into the forest or up onto the mountains and these types of things. And you'll notice how you feel. And, there's plenty of studies that talk about, people say who have got mental health issues doing gardening and getting their fingers in the dirt, and, and being with nature and connecting with it and these types of things. And at a very sort of, I guess, a superficial level, that's just great, because you are, forming a bond, even if you're not aware of, say, a hermetic view. But like I said, the contrast is such a powerful tool for your development, and it's worth exploring. Okay, let's see what's happening out there. Now, when we talk about concentration, for example, and the immediate benefits of that, I found, and I mentioned this in a previous cast as well. Let me know if I'm too loud, guys. There's a supreme value, I think, that there's an opportunity that's missed by elements, I would say, of the spiritual community, as I've seen it. There isn't really much of a focus on concentration, although concentration does feed back into things like visualization and that, but concentration is generally a component. And a lot of things like guided visualizations and meditations are a composite sort of experience. And, like a book like Initiation into Hermetics by Franz Barden gives you all the individual muscle groups to work. Whereas, say, something like Reiki, you are doing composite workouts. And this is also valuable. It's like, hardcore people that go to the gym. I've actually, even better, I had a friend whose sister was a bodybuilder. And she would get her little 1 kilo weights, and she would isolate a muscle area, and she'd okay, I'm going to work on that. Just that. I want to tone that one up. Okay. That's more like Barden. And then there's me. I'll go down to the local park, and they have outdoor exercise machines, like exercise machines that work muscle groups. That's, say, more like a Reiki, where you're doing a bunch of things at once, or a guided meditation where you're aware and then you're focusing, and then it's encouraging development of the mind's eye by taking you through a scene. And over time, these things can develop. And the Barden approach is obviously very focused on developing one thing at a time in a sort of linear process, which is actually really cool because when you get really good at, say, concentration, and you start noticing the benefits because you haven't got lots of other things going on that you're practicing as well, it's easy to identify the value, to distinguish it from, say, when you're doing lots of other things, because everything kind of contains everything else in some way. If you look through the process, you can see how one feeds into the next thing, and so on and so forth. And so there's definitely benefits from to taking this sort of linear approach to the works, as opposed to, say, what's becoming quite popular now, which is this holographic, or sort of like, and this is not to be confused with jumping around the exercises, which I think a lot of commentators, teachers, and people who are sort of commenting on new ways of innovating within the parameters of the Barden work, maybe missing out on the thing here, like 3 to 4 hours of practice where you're running through a practice loop of concentration, visualization, mindfulness, pore breathing, element breathing, these types of things. You've kind of got to, in my view, you've got to have a good widespread of understanding. If you fully understand what's going on and how one exercise feeds into the next, it will serve you very well, because then you have a good intellectual grasp. You have a deepening understanding of what's taking place, and this will serve you greatly. Hello, everybody in the chat. Let me know what you guys are up to, where you guys are at. I'm here in New Zealand, down the bottom of the world. We're coming out of winter. We're in spring. The weather's going from hot to cold, and my gosh, it was cold the other day. It was probably colder than it was in winter. Let me know what you guys are up to. Hey, Chris. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you for hanging out. This is it. I got some time here. I want to just make up a graphic, put it up there, and hang out. You guys put your questions in. I'll do my best to answer them. Ooh, dang, coming at you from Pennsylvania. What's happening in the PA, man? So there's so many different ways of approaching the building of a practice. And I have to say, my personal favorite is to sort of lay it out and go, okay, this, and this, and you have a structured practice. And don't get me wrong, I can be lazy sometimes, but I will sit down and I will take myself through the things. Like, for myself, concentration has been a great exercise, because when I was a musician, and a very this was a while back, a professional musician in the sense of being a teacher and being a performer, there was a lot of time spent focusing and concentrating, and I was running a very big business as well. But what happens is that, if you don't work certain faculties, they start to degrade over time. And this is why when you look, say, through sort of the early stages of, initiation into Hermetics, you can see how those things can be seen in daily life activities. And if you haven't got a concentration or a focus sort of activity throughout the day, like a single point, I'm talking about a single point focus, not so much you've got an activity you're focusing on where you've got you're practicing guitar. Okay, you could be doing a range of things and you could be jumping around a bit. Whereas, say, I'm going to focus specifically on this aspect. That's when you can bring value and transfer value from the book, from IIH into your life. And the more I think that you bring it into your everyday life, that's where you'll see the value. And then you're practicing all day, every day. And Bob shared that video of him and myself speaking, and I was talking about how I can train the electric and magnetic lines of force doing the vacuuming sort of thing, but this is it, like you can practice throughout the day, and the more you do it, the easier it becomes, and it becomes like autopilot. Oh, yes, of course. You guys are switching as well, aren't you? Yeah, we're switching. You guys are going one way and we're going the other way. Yeah, it's a bit overcast and rainy and windy out there. So it's a good day to do a live stream and have a coffee with you guys. Hey, what's up, buddy Boulder? Good to see you. Thank you for joining in again. A familiar name popping up. I'm curious if how you use your guitar or voice in your magical practice. Great question. So, I really love the third book in Barden's series, The Key to the Truth Bala. It brings in a sound component, which you don't really, it's not present in the first book. And when you think about how sound comes from travels from the mental body, and you're thinking about a sound, you can create a sound in your head, just like you can get a song stuck in your head, and then you can start to whisper it at a low volume. And then you start vibrating it, and it becomes very tangible. It's fun to explore the scale. If you think about because if you think about it, right, you start off, you put if you use the ball above head method, for example, you put a ball of energy above. It's, let's say, the letter N. It's cool. It's meat red. It's making a sound, right? And you dip your mental body into that, and you soak it in that for a bit, and then it starts to move down, right? And then your mental body, your mental environment becomes red. You fill the universe with it, right? And then you fill your body with it, and that's the mental body. And you can create that tone in your head and your mental experience too. And then when you bring it to the astral, this is more of a felt thing. So the color is something that your mental body observes, but the astral body is something that is a sensation body. And so this function of this is to feel it, right? And so you start creating a low tone, and so your subtle astral body can sort of feel it at a low tone. You're just putting it into this astral field around your body. And then, of course, when we come down into the physical body, this is mechanical, and so we can do postures, different types of full body mudra, we call them asana or tai chi, and and then we're vibrating it loudly where it's actually moving, and so the sound starts at the top and moves its way down, and that's what yokes the energy essentially and pulls it down is that, that's the common denominator that we see in Kabbalah, like the different poles, right? But we'll call it the air pole as Barden lists it, but the sound is what helps it travel down. We're talking about the spoken word here. And so as far as your question, Chris, so the guitar, for example, is how I tone my voice and how I train my voice. I use my guitar as a voice training tool so that I can do vocal exercises. It's a set of reference points to notes. And of course, there's different ways of playing with this. So let's say you want to use some physical aids for your Kabbalah practice, right? Your KTQ practice. You could get a couple of, you could get an electric guitar amp or a big set of speakers, and you could plug your phone into it with a tone generator app, type in an F sharp, run that through, and then you'll feel it. And then you can adjust. You basically, you've got a sample that you can physically feel, and then you can attempt to start or attempt your training by vocalizing that so that you feel it as well. because it's felt and it's movement, because you know when music moves you. So I've been a bass player as well, and that instrument, when you've got like a couple of 15-inch speakers, or a quad, or even a pair and a 15-inch sub, you feel it. Like it moves you. And so, yeah, as far as sound goes, there's many traditions that use some sort of vocalized or toning or chanting. But what I really love about KDQ is that, like initiation into Hermetics, you're starting with very simple things. You're learning with baby steps. You're learning sounds before letters, before words, before sentences and paragraphs and so forth. And so, that's one way that I use sound. Now, another way that you could use sound is by natural sounds. And listening to natural sounds, which are free of, say, human intention. And you go outside and you just pay attention to the rain, and you just listen, and you just tune into the sound of the rain, and you listen for the different things that make up the sound of that rain, and you're just exploring the sound. And so what happens is that all of these other curious kind of awareness bits of your mental body that are out searching for, it's just that they're going out there looking for things to pay attention to. You sort of pull them back in, because all of the little spotlights that are searching, they all kind of start to converge on this point through the acoustic or the air gate, and you start paying attention to the rain, for example, and or a stream. It's better to have, I think, if you can listen to birds and animals, fine too. But the thing is that they will stop and start, and so it's not consistent. You want a consistent meditation object or thing you can pay attention to that's there. That's why, like, using a tone generator is good, because if I hit a note on the guitar, ding, the volume drops away, the sound decays. So natural sounds, like I've got a stream down the back, and that creates a sound that I can mentally transfer into and just sort of pay attention to that and explore that. Or I can not mentally transfer, I can just listen to it from afar, and it's reasonably loud and it's consistent. And we've had rain, and so it's nice and full and it's busy. And one of the pearls that I've picked up on this journey is from teacher Mark Rasmus. And that is, when you get good at something, and I'll just pull back and just talk about it from something I can relate to, and then I'll go into what he said. When you get good at something, right, there's a kind of an ease that develops within you, and you're not trying, you become relaxed with it. It's like when students would come to me back in the day for guitar teaching, they'd be all rigid and stiff and have this alien object in their arms, and then over time they started to relax. And it's almost like you're kind of teaching them a kind of Tai Chi to get them to just relax the body and release tension. And so they get good at it. And then once they get good at that, then they're not sort of having this sort of internal conflict or fight. And they're able to just play. It's more natural. There's a naturalness that arises from ease. Now, there are things that you are good at that you don't know you're good at yet, but you're going to have to learn the skills, and then you will, over time, you will relax with them, right? And this is going to be based on things that inspire you, or things that you watch and hear, or people that you meet that make you go, wow, that's cool, I want to do that. And so you start learning, and as you learn, you get better and more proficient. And one of those elements of proficiency is your ability to sort of relax in the process of doing the thing. And that ease is analogous to the stillness that underlies all things. You could say it's like a law of analogy almost. It's like a correspondence of sorts. And when you're listening to the stream or to the rain and you can hear it, here's something you've got to try and figure out. And this is what Mark Rasmus taught. You then want to listen for the stillness underlying the rain or the emptiness. So once you're fully present with it, because you've got to be kind of have your focus on it locked on so that it's the only thing in your view, so to speak. And then you're able to sort of like start to become aware of the vacuum or the ether or the void or the stillness from where that has sprung from. And so that is another way. But I'm sort of wandering around here, Chris, but thank you for the question. So I've sort of diverted away, but yeah, as far as voice goes, like practicing singing scales, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Sorry, I've got another sound there. It's putting me off. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, da, 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 da. It's a bit early in the morning. I haven't done any toning or anything. Cheers. But learning a set of notes, like a full, say, a major scale, la 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 la. You learn about the spaces or the intervals between sounds, between pleasing sounds, because pleasing sounds are a great place to work, because if you start working with things that aren't pleasing, it can be a bit off-putting until you become accustomed to, that. I worked with teaching kids and they didn't always produce pleasing sounds, and you learn to develop a certain resilience against that. But you are essentially learning how to space out these sounds and get to know them and the relationships between them. Just like you learn to develop an understanding of the relationships between hot and cold and light and heavy when you're doing your elementals training. And so learning to sing scales, so if you're just playing guitar, right, it's an external thing. And even though it's up against your body, an acoustic guitar, you're feeling it. Or you've got it on a guitar amp and you can, it's loud enough that the waves are coming at you, if you want to call them that, and you can feel them. Training your voice is your intrinsic instrument, right? It's you, who you are. If you drop on a desert island and you haven't got a guitar, but you remember how to sing a scale, a great thing to do to give you a starting reference point is to, when you get a song stuck in your head, let's say you've had a song stuck in your head for a day or 2 days, or there's a song you can easily pull into your mind that you can get locked into and you go, oh, yeah. And it's the same every time, You can go and find out what key that song is in. It might be in E, it might be in C. But however you hear it in your head, it's the same as when you hear it, because that's where you heard it from. So it's in that key. And so that can help you give you a starting point and a familiar frame of reference to where to bring in your toning or your chanting or your vocalizing. And that's a handy thing to do. So, for example, say a song like Voodoo Child by, Jimi Hendrix. That's in the key of E, albeit it is a half step. So it's actually E flat. And I would argue that it's even 432 E as opposed to 440 E flat. Another conversation for another time. But if you've got a favorite song and you can hear it cleanly, and when you listen to it on the radio, it sounds exactly the same, like it's tonally the same, it's not like higher in pitch or lower than pitch, then you have that pretty much a well-baked in reference point. And then you can sing an E major scale. Well, I stand up next to a mountain. That's not how I would sing it, but I'm just not going to scream into the microphone here. Duh. Dun 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 dun. And then you learn all the notes in that scale. and then you've got a reference point for other things. But what you're doing is you're training yourself to be good at creating cleanly defined tones, and that is a good skill to develop. Even if you're not aiming to be like a full-on guitarist, just using an instrument to help you tune your voice, good skill. So that was my long way around of saying that's how I use that presently in one way. Yes, same boat here with guitar and bass. It's a good way to tune the voice and explore the different planes. Yes, perfect. Absolutely. Okay, Buddy Boulder, what do we got here? Any advice for someone trying to reach elemental equilibrium? First of all, you got to get the so if we're talking about it from the astral body point of view, like astral equilibrium of developing the the sensation body essentially, and so you want to start. Well, sorry, when I say you want to start, my offering for you in response to your question, disclaimers, is you really got to nail down the qualitative so you can go, oh, okay, I can make myself feel hot, or I can make myself feel cold, or I can tune in this mental tuning fork in the upper part of my pineal or my pituitary, that area, which is like your transceiver for how you can flavor the astral body. Sorry, I'm probably wandering around here, but when you're sitting there very quietly, if you've got a good grasp of the four elements, awesome. Then all you have to do is increase your volume capacity for building that, so you can really experience it. Because when your initial experiences with the quality of it, like just exploring the flavor of it, I can come up with heat. I can feel heat. That's cool. Well, you got to get good at expanding that. You got to get really comfortable and proficient with bringing on those four unique feeling states. And so you'll have something like, say, you might start, I'm going to train fire element, I'm going to use my hot cup of coffee, and I'm going to mentally transfer into it. I'm going to feel it, and I'm going to breathe in the heat. And then maybe I'll get a cold glass of water with some ice in it, and that's my cold reference point. Or I think about, like having a hot bath or having a cold bath or a cold shower, and I just refer back to that, and then I start breathing that in. But as far as, and then of course, weights, you can put things on you and hold weights and just feel heavy and just feel everything sinking down. That's why the Qigong is so good, guys. Learning how to float yourself and develop the experiences of fullness and emptiness. And that's in Barden's book as well. But and then of course, lightness, feeling light and springy. That's a handy one. These are all very useful. But as far as the equilibrium goes, if you're following initiation into Hermetics, it will teach you the element stacking in the body, or some people call it banding, or partitioning off segments and then loading the element into those four places. If you are coming at this from a new, and if you're at that stage where you're ready to start doing the elemental equilibrium exercises, then you just do them. That's about the best I've got. You put fire in the head, you put air in the chest, you put water in the gut and the abdomen, and then you put earth in the legs. And one thing I'll say is, on top of what Mr. Barden offers, is that you go back through and you do it again. You breathe in, and you want to maintain it, because these things can leak. There's people who talk about this saying, hey, look, I filled myself up with vital force, and then I just felt like there was a leak or something, and I started to deflate. And it's like, you've got to be able to sort of like hold it. And so that's part of the training that leads up to the element accumulation, condensing and packing, if you will, is being able to do it with, say, vital force, which is very easy to experience tangibly. And then the next level would be, say, elements, where you're taking that vital force, shifting it up into astral, and then moving it between these four feeling states. And so you want to get good at, doing the segmented. So, like if you're doing, for example, if you wanted to do like a practice loop for elemental equilibrium in the form of element stacking, what you could do is you go through and you could just practice, filling up these four parts of the body, these four levels, with just vital force, but feeling the difference between them. Like when you're in your head, you feel like you've got a balloon here essentially, and then your upper body is its own balloon, and then your abdomen is its own balloon, and then your legs are its own balloon. This is one way, and then some will say that you then take that fullness that you've developed with vital force, and then you can swing it to fire, and you can swing it to water, and you can swing it to air, and swing it to earth. Otherwise, because if you've done the prior training in the book, you'll already have that skill set. If you're taking a holographic approach, and you haven't got the proficiency, you might not be that good with vital force, but you might be really great with accumulating fire element. But, you really want to watch out for elemental imbalance, because it'll kick your ass. Make no bones about that. Elemental imbalances, like you got to do these. You got to do this, so because you're going to figure it out anyway. I remember listening to Ray Del Sol talk, and he was saying, he would load himself up with fire element before he went to bed, and then he'd just sweat it out and deal with it, because that's how he did his training. And some would go, well, that's a pretty irresponsible or dangerous way of doing it, but the bro decided to do it, and he's reporting back, like all those people that had to trial out all those different types of foods to start with. Thank you, guys. Thank you to everyone that did that. So yeah, I mean, as far as elemental equilibrium goes, pack the head, pack each one, and then just go back through and run through again until it becomes tangible and you're able to hold it, But yeah, get good at doing whole body of each element first. I think that's a good place to start. So pack your body with vital force, and then you can empty it out and then bring in fire, or you can. I've got to be careful here, because everyone's going to find their own way. I would just say the best thing to do is to follow what Barden says in the order, as far as like going from because your relationship with vital force is how you develop the ability to perceive the tensions of the subtle bodies and subtle forces. Your initial kind of introduction to feeling a buildable tension in the body is through vital force. Just hold for 1 minute, guys. I'll be back in a sec. Thank you for your gracious patience. I need to get my banner up that says back in 2 minutes. So yeah, there's a noticeable difference between just detecting the fire element, in a sense, isolating it, and then expanding it out. That's when you get into the qualitative sort of aspect of it, right? But one thing I really enjoy doing it is just prior to any kind of accumulation and then condensing, you're detecting it first. And then I've got this own process I do. I rinse myself out with it. So basically it's like I'm just kind of dipping into the waters, so to speak. Like for example, fire element, I'll just breathe that in. I'll detect it. And then I will breathe it. I will pour breathe it. Just in and out, just clean in and out. Like I'm just rinsing myself out with it. I'm not loading it, and then I'm not condensing it. So it's good to distinguish between, these sort of different phases of your relationship to it. Because, like I said, there's the qualitative when you're discerning it, going, there's fire element. I can feel that. Okay, cool. Then there's the quantitative, which is so the first one is like an air element thing where you're discerning it. Then you've got a quantitative one, which is when you're building it and becoming familiar with it, which is more you're embodying it. So you're getting used to it. You're becoming familiar. That's more like a water element, a watery sort of approach. And then you've got the ability to apply your will to it. So you've got basically discernment, which is touching it, feeling it, going, oh, there it is. Then you've got water element, embodying it, which is more like, I'm just using these elemental sort of categories here. But you first you detect it, then you accumulate it so that you become familiar with it. Because the more time you spend in the soup, you get used to the soup, and this soup is different to that soup, and so on. And then you have your ability to apply your will to it, which is, when you start condensing it and then, in doing things with it, okay, doing more with it. And then you've got, which is like a fire element. And then you've got your earth element, which is when you can persist with it. So you get good at it and you get good at retaining it. And so that's a good way of doing it. And it goes qualitative, quantitative, quality, quantity, quality, quantity. I've actually got a great graphic I've made for this. But it's on a sketch pad. It's on a big ass sketch pad. So yeah, I'll get that transferred over into digital at some point. But just take yourself through the process and then stack them. You'll be surprised how valuable that element stacking to attain equilibrium is. Like, Barden lists a whole bunch of things, but you get that regularly going. Like I remember Mark Rasmus saying, he said, he'll get his new students to do that, 3 times a day for the first 6 months. Just getting used to it. Just, like even if you're not very good at retaining the elements, or you're still working through them, like just get used to like visualizing red, blue, or just the feeling states, like feel hot up here, feel light here, feel cold here or cool here, and feel heavy here. And just start, getting accustomed to the general type of thing. I used to teach the kids on guitar. I'd teach them how to strumble. What's strumbling? Let me get my guitar and I'll show you. So this is analogous. Hang on. Okay, so when you're teaching kids guitar or you're teaching people guitar, you are teaching them, my approach was to teach them the left hand and the right hand separately, and then we bring them together. So, for example, I would teach the kids how to make a chord. We're talking 7 and 8 year old kids here, so you want them having fun and enjoying themselves. So what I would do is that I would teach them how to strumble. What does that mean? Well, they're so uncoordinated because they haven't learned the skills largely. There's a few that could, but you want them attaining some level of achievement because it'll make them feel good and encourage them. But it's also building up a skill set from the rough level up. You're refining a process. So I would teach them, I say, cool, put your fingers on the chords. Cool. So we're going to work on this hand. This is the one we're thinking about. This is what creates the pitch because I'm holding the string down here and here. Okay. So we're working on listening, for example, and then I'd show them just how to do something real basic with their right hand, like make the sounds. Perfect. Okay. Now the strumbling in regards to developing the element stacking was something similar. and the respect of, okay, you've got your chord, we've got a few sounds coming out. Now we're just going to do real easy strum. We're not going to use a pick, and we're not going to try and be fancy. We're just going to get a strum going. And I get them to run their nail, one finger down the string, like this. And they would have varying levels of success, right? But the goal is that they were able to do the thing, even if it wasn't very good, because that's what you're doing. You're learning something. And so don't expect yourself to be, a pro at it straight away. So what I'm saying is if I was going to bring this back to the elemental equilibrium thing and doing the element stacking, just start figuring out the pieces that you need to put together, where to put your fingers, where to put you put the red here, and if you're going to use the colors. I'm like, my sort of element training is done with the third book, just to be quite transparent about that. Bob nailed it. In my view, is that in the first book you're training aspects of the letters, and then you basically have to go through and do them again. I just training the mother letters is fine. I don't know. I know there's a bit of contention about that, but that's just who I am and what I say. But I would say to anyone, if you're starting on IIH, you want to get familiar with that first. But you want to expose yourself to all the stuff, just anything. If you're involved in some kind of practice that you really enjoy and you like, go and learn as much as you can about it and discern for yourself. Get really clued up on what you're doing. Map out your practice. You're listening to this group and they're saying, no, buy the book, 100%. Awesome. This group over here saying, no, holographic, best way to go. You'll get results in a couple of years. Okay, cool. This group in the middle saying, well, you do the first 3 steps and you just loop them over, loop them over, practice loop, maybe a couple of hours with them. Okay, perfect. And so finding that out, you got to find the approach. And there's a lot of, I actually respect the sort of the purist traditionalist versions of people, because it's part of the preservation of it, because things can start to get diluted a bit when things aren't clear. And I have to say, Bob at 60 Skills is probably doing one of the best jobs out there, I think, in regards to sort of innovating. Same with Mark, and that was all born from Mark Rasmus, from what I can tell. But Bob brings his own experience to it as well. But okay, I actually don't think I need these ear things. I'll just take them out. Actually, I might need them in a sec. Okay, thank you, buddy. Yes, this is one of the gems that I've come across in my time as a musician, especially if you want to remember, I made this chart for all the KDQ tones. So this is available on my community tab on my YouTube, and it's basically all the letters organized. Hang on. So all the letters in KTQ organized in order from the note, starting at the bottom, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, with all the, there's no C at the top. But what you can do is that when you realize there's 10 notes from the music scale, how can I learn all those notes? Well, all you have to do is for one thing, is learn a song, get a song stuck in your head that you know really well that's in the key of C, and that's just about any jingle on the radio, because they all just use the white keys on a keyboard to make a song in a lot of cases. And you go, oh, okay, what's a song in the key of C? So then you learn how to sing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, the major scale, backwards and forwards. So you've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So that's that. So then you've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So you count your way up the scale, vocally, tonally, right? Da, 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 da. And then you learn how to go from da, 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 da. Does that sound familiar? Da, 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 da. It's the theme from Jaws, okay? Da, da, da. That's called a minor second, and that's how you find a C sharp. And then you learn to sing da 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 da. probably needs a bit more explanation. I think actually that's a great idea for a video for me to make. I've been a bit slack making videos, haven't I? These lives are a bit easy. I've become a bit lazy. I've become a lazy live streamer. And but yeah, like once you've got that, then you've got all 13 notes, you've got all of the 10 notes that you need to know, and you can find them. So it's a good training thing. Maybe I'll make a little mini course or a video on that. What are the practical uses for vital, astral, and mental energy? Oh man, bro, that's a big question. Well, first of all, at the vital level, if we're talking about vitality, when you start packing the body, like you start feeling vital energy, you discern it, then you start packing it and embodying it and going, oh yeah, here I am in the vital now. You get really familiar with it, and then you start being able to move it and do things with it, and then you're able to retain it. Like I said, those 4 phases: quality, quantity, quality, quantity, air, water, fire, earth. What you'll notice is that you're basically your body's poor breathing automatically anyway, or not that great. It's an autonomic function. Like I've said before, the people who do body painting, they have to leave a square on their back, otherwise their bodies can't breathe. So poor breathing is part of our natural function, but we just yoke it and grab it and do stuff with it. Just like breathing is autonomous, but then we can do focused breath work. We take control over the default automatic function, and we start working with it because we can do things with it. But what you'll notice is like a great example of the practical uses for vital energy is Qigong. Yeah. And that's between vital and astral, but they are still, you're still packing the body. So you might do, say, bone marrow washing, or you wash yourself out with a vital force, and then you do packing, like in the book Barden says, you condense it or accumulate it, and then you can learn how to condense it and concentrate it. And that works a bunch of faculties as well. And then you let it all go. You let it explode back into the universe, and then all of a sudden, you'll notice once you do that, a few days in a row, you'll start feeling more alive. You'll have more vitality because you're force loading it and infusing it into your very being. You're taking a generally automated default function, however well that's been done, and like whether it's because these are all, like I said, automatic functions that we kind of take for granted, but we can improve upon them. And that's what we're doing, is that we're packing it, we're condensing it, accumulating it, and then we get better at it and we notice the benefits. This is why you've got to take notes, because you go, you know what, man, I've just been feeling like I've got more juice lately, and I'm still eating the same food. I've just got more gas in the tank. I'm more alive. I'm sharper. Because this energy, if you're working at it at a vital level, doing, like going for a run and eating good foods and, going for walks and going out to nature and really, at that kind of, vital, astral-ish kind of thing, but it's definitely more to do with, say, the physical vitality. You can't help but not notice it. There's a reason why people do qigong. Yeah, they're like, it opens the body up. There's a massaging process, and Tai Chi does this as well, obviously. And there's the movement side of it, but then there's the actual energetic side where you're packing the stuff in, and it's vitalizing it at a deep level and putting more. It's just like condensed nutrition, I guess. Some things are nutritionally sparse. A bowl of food versus that's just full of carbs and nothing. It's a bunch of cardboard, maybe. Whereas a nice little bowl of like, high quality, organic, sort of well thought out food. It's a similar type of thing, like you're packing it in and then you let it go. Take notes. Astral energy. Once you yoke the astral stuff and you're dealing with the elements, because that's, the sensation body and the feeling body, the emotional body, you're learning how to take charge of it. Just like you were saying, you take charge of your breathing and you take charge of your poor breathing. Some of what I've found to be valuable with astral energy is you just find that you reach new, especially when you're doing equilibrium exercises, you just find that you're able, you become acutely aware of imbalances, because as you become more aware of your astral body, your feeling body, it's easy to sense when it's kind of out of sorts. And, one of the best, fastest ways to bring it back into its sort of optimal sorts is to do the elemental stacking, or even just to rinse yourself out with the 4 elements as well. Like, just to, if your levels are like this, if you got one of those printers that's got like separate ink cartridges, and, like it's got CMYK, and it's got, you've used too much yellow, and you've got heaps of black, but you're out of cyan or, magenta, but you're just washing yourself out with things will just help to stabilize a bit. But when you're doing the actual thing, like the stacking, that is another level of complexity that has another level of benefit, what you might call another resolution of benefits, because you're learning how to maintain different things at once. Same with Kabbalah, you're doing 3 things at once. And with the elemental stacking, you're doing 4 things at once. You're trying to retain 4 different feeling states within you at the same time, maybe with a color and maybe with a sound as well. So you start off getting good at doing a thing by itself, and then you add another thing, and then another thing. And I don't want to give too much away here, because, I don't want to contaminate your experience and give you expectations of outcomes that may be unique to me. It's better that you discover this for yourself and take notes. But one thing is for sure, is that wherever you're developing, whichever energy center you're developing, whether it's vital, astral, or mental, they can be converted into each other, and they can help to balance you out, And so, it's kind of got this self-smoothing process that goes on. You can take charge of it too, of course, but the body and the general being, there's a general desire to lean towards a type of equilibrium or homeostasis, where everything's groovy, baby, everything's chill, everything's on the level, so to speak. And but things can get out of whack, and you need some chops for that. And that's why, like, they say, once you start, you shouldn't really stop. Once you start this road, very hard to go back, because you've developed these capacities within yourself, and they need maintenance and they need attention until they fully flower and become almost, like automated or automatic or autonomous or default functions. You've kind of opened a door that you need to step all the way through before you can sort of come back out of it again and be confident. It's like, okay, that knows how to look after itself. I've sort of got a program running now. I've replaced it. I've developed a new capacity. I've got it running sweet. Like, Mr. Barden says, you develop this unshakable equilibrium because it's just part of your natural state of being. It becomes a default nature. Now, but as far as other uses for astral energy goes, if you're going to go for a run, try filling yourself up with fire energy. Go for a run. Come back. Oh, wow. Okay. Make sure you empty yourself out. Then next time you go for a run, try filling yourself up with air element and see how that is different, and get to know the differences. Find the use case value through different applications. Now, you probably wouldn't use water element if you're going for a run, or earth element for sure, because, you're going to be heavier, and that does translate to, how you run and things. You could impact your joints more. You just wouldn't do it necessarily. Now, some earth elements, like as far as the Kabbalah letters go, some earth letters are lighter than others, or some are heavier than others. Some are hot. Some fire is hotter than others. There's these degrees of intensity in each one of the elements as far as the letters go. But just to keep it simple and just do basic elements, say in the first book. Think about it. Think about what the elements are, what they could be used for. And that's why, like when you're doing your soul mirror, and he gives you some like some basic categories of like, here's some negative expressions of the elements, here's some positive ones. You'll start finding how they correspond not just to your feeling body, but also about how you can, leverage those in the real world. Because, if you charge yourself up with air element, so you're feeling light, you know, you might be able to run further. You might find that there's less impact on your knees and joints, but you might not get the same intensity of workout because you're getting like a bit of a lift. You've got less, your relationship to gravity, I guess, has changed. Now, as far as mental energy goes, the concentration and the vacancy of mind and the mindfulness, the very first step, when you find yourself being able to really focus, like that's why concentration is like straight out of the gate. You're doing mindfulness, becoming aware of the mental environment, then you're concentrating, being able to hold on to something and just, hold it. Because this is the ultimate cockpit, really, isn't it? Like the driver of the whole operation, the operator, if you will, of the machinery of the astral and the physical and mental functions, is this observer that sits in the back of your mental body. And so, this aspect of yourself, this immortal spirit, needs to be able to focus on the job at hand, because there's all these other distractions going on, and it can capture your attention. And you only get a kind of half-assed workout if you're not able to focus on what you're doing. And so, mental energy will build, and you will discover other uses for that. But generally speaking, just concentration in itself, you will discover some wonderful payoffs just for doing that simple thing. And, there's a guy on YouTube called GM Wolf. He's Grandmaster Wolf. He's a Taoist monk. He comes across as Australian because he's got an Aussie accent. But he's got plenty of videos where he's doing things like chi pressure, which would be astral, where he's squashing a bottle, for example, or moving something with chi. Like he's got a piece of paper and he puts it up against the wall, and then he drops it, puts his hand on it, drops down. He's got his lady there, or the lady who helps him out, and she puts his hand on it, falls down, and then she holds it and he puts it up against it, and then it stays on the wall with his hand far away, because he's using chi pressure. And then he does exercises like telekinesis, where he uses mental energy, where he's moving things with his mind. Now, regardless of the legitimacy of this, what it does is it gives an idea of how phenomena can be sort of categorized between mental and astral, for example. And so, exploring, there's a lot of ways you can explore the use cases and values within initiation into Hermetics. When you start seeing, like, if you can break down whatever it is you're doing into what the mental, astral, and physical bodies are doing, whether it's Tai Chi, whether it's Qigong, whether it's, say, doing the dishes, what are you thinking about, what you're feeling? You're thinking about scrubbing, you're feeling the hot water, and, you're applying an appropriate body mechanic to it, sort of thing. You learn how to break things down. And I picked that up off Mark Rasmus. He just nailed that. He says, look, whatever someone's doing, figure out what the mental, astral, and physical sort of elements of the activity are, and it'll essentially come to you. So hopefully that was of some value to you. And, if you're prepared to share something in the chat something that you found value of, please put it in there. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me here. It's about 10 to 11 here in New Zealand, in Auckland, on a rather cool, windy, kind of rainy day. I have to say that coffee has kept its heat pretty well, and it's been about an hour. Fire element. No. Just doing a bit of housework here, guys. I appreciate it. Whatever about the like button. Subscribe's good, though. If you're watching and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I think that helps. I've done a bit of research. It says it does. If you want to support the channel, let's change that. Dun, dun, dun. philrice.substack.com. They are, and I have applied for, they're going to be doing live streaming and offering that soon, which is really exciting. As much as I love YouTube, I like Substack more. YouTube. A friend of mine, he's a bit of a fan of my channel. He's a good bro, and he's got all the notifications on. So whenever I'm doing a live or a thing, it pops up. Well, it stopped popping up, and he's not sure. And I found that curious. Now, I've had some controversial speakers on my show, and they are shadow banned and for a bunch of things. And that's probably come over my way because I've had them on the show. However, I haven't had that experience on Substack, and just encouraging people to explore other mediums. So yes, please go to philrice.substack.com. I'm not asking for cash, and even if I was, I wouldn't bother me. What I'm asking for is sign up for a newsletter, give me your email address, we can stay in touch. And I want to start doing some Substack exclusive stuff where sort of forces people, oh man, I love Phil's stuff. He's so cool. Oh, he's so good looking. Or he's just got this mannerism and charm about him. I really like following him. Oh, he's on Substack. Oh, I'll have to go there and explore it. Yeah, it's not a big deal. There's an app. The app's actually really good. So you can watch a thing like this and cast it to your TV without the middleman. It's pretty cool. Thanks to violetflamestudios.co.nz for sponsoring the live streaming software this month. I'm very grateful to these guys. And don't forget to check out go to their website to see how the game is going, because the game is awesome and the Kickstarter is live and it's $11 for the game on Steam. So they're on Steam and they've got a wish list there. Go click the wish list button, hook the bro up, helps jack him up the ranks. He's literally making this in his house, in his garage, with another guy in Germany. And the quality of the game is insane. And like for two guys who have just been working their butts off. I've been inputting as well. But this is going to be something. And but it's going to require effort, And so you don't have to buy anything. Just go and check it out. Get some traffic over there. Hook a bro up if you want. How long do you think it takes to master a letter on the astral level? Well, it depends. We've got strengths in different areas, and we've got to find out where the gaps are, so to speak. And, so the general rule of thumb is about 10 hours to get a reasonably good, clean connection with a letter. Some teachers will say, don't worry about the physical level, just take it down to the astral. Physical can come later. Some will say, no, do the book, take it through, run it through, then run it up, back, round through again. But, the astral body, it depends too. It depends if you're starting, if you're going to do the mother letters in place of just doing the elements in initiation into Hermetics. Because, you can generally feel the elements pretty quickly, maybe, and some might be easier than others. But if you're doing, it just depends. Like if you're trying to do lots of things at once, like the elements, Barden's is saying, just work on the feeling, So that's the astral level of the water pole, the astral level of the letter without the sound. And then, if you're trying to do the letters, for example, then you're trying to maintain and do several things at once throughout, And so that might require greater capacities for you to be able to successfully perform that exercise, because like I said, you're trying to do three things at once here: sight, sound, sensation. And it's going to be different, but for everybody, because everyone's going to have a different ability to perceive these things. For some people, water's going to be easy. For some people, earth's going to be easy. For some people, visualizing it's going to be easy at the mental level. So you just got to stick at it. Record your times. Bob did a great book it's called Initial Experiences with the Kabbalah. I thoroughly recommend it. It's like $16 or $17. It goes into a lot of territory that the KTQ doesn't. And it's a modern translation of things with some, he goes through each letter and his experiences with them initially. And he talks about how he did it. It's really valuable. If you're going to, even if you're just going to do the mother letters, if you're going to explore KDQ in any way, shape, or form, I recommend getting Bob's book. And there's plenty of good authors' books out there too. I haven't gone too much further because I'm just really sort of using KDQ as my core, and then I look at other information as well. I study Jewish Kabbalah as well, and the various forms, of Kabbalah. But as far as the practical practice goes, the general rule of thumb is that 20 hours with a letter will get you a nice clean connection with it. And then 100 hours, you're really baking it in. And then 1,000 hours, I mean, that's when you're, impregnating it at a sort of, it's almost becoming like firmware almost, isn't it? Okay. So, must be time for some memes. Who's up for some memes? We can keep talking, but I want to put some memes up because I got a whole stack of memes here. And get right back to the beginning. There's some, they're not all metaphysical memes because I want to, I don't know, like, let's just have a bit of a light-hearted chortle. Okay, let's open that up. Awesome. Okay, and we'll go here. All right, let's go memeing. So important, isn't it? Love yourself. Let's jack that up a little bit. And there's a great, I've mentioned this a few times, but there's a Qigong teacher, Chunyi Lin, Spring Forest Qigong, and he talks about this acronym he uses when he teaches his students of SMILE, SMILE, when you wake up in the morning or when you're doing your Qigong practice, and that is start my internal love engine. For those of you who haven't checked it out, you want to go to HeartMath, HeartMath.com, or look them up on YouTube and look for the quick coherence technique, which is basically you're just focusing on your astral body or your heart space, and you breathe in, and then you think of something that makes you happy or brings you joy or appreciation or gratitude, and then you just start feeling really good and loved up. I'm feeling it now. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful feeling. And there's a whole bunch of like benefits and, they've got instrumentation that they've developed that can measure interesting things. Like when two people are in this field, one can pick up on the heart rate of the other in their field. Or it's been a while since I looked at it, but yeah, one's heart rate is being picked up, or the brain waves are being picked up. It's quite interesting, but there's some real solid benefits to it. But yeah, be kind to yourself, guys. Eat good food, go get exercise, hang out with good people, set yourself up for the win. If you want to do some hardcore resistance training, put a couple of shackles around your legs or a ball and chain and go for a run to work those extra muscles. But there's no need to hurt yourself unnecessarily. Have a method in your madness. I'll just say that. This is great. We've all seen this person. Oh, that's just classy, isn't it? All right. In the 17th century, people were so Baroque, they were looting in the streets. I've got to say, I love the sound of those old instruments. They're just those musicians back then. Like, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of skilled musos today, but that old classical music from 15th century, 16th, just onwards. Like the ability to sort of play these instruments, stringed instruments, has obviously been a favorite of mine. Just incredible, really. Beautiful, harmonious. They this is in the days when musicians had patrons. When you could somebody would say, hey, I want to go and do music, and there's a rich guy. It's like, cool, well, I've got the money. I'm going to put you up in a house. You go make us some music. Go and find your artistic streak. Worse than being abducted by aliens, being rejected by aliens. Oh, looks like we got a bad apple in the bunch here. Oh, this is great. This is so good, right? Funny. Yeah, so I see the new Rings of Power TV show by Amazon, which is like the most expensive TV show ever made at like $1 billion, right? I'm not sure if that encompasses the whole 5 seasons that they're planning. I watched the first season. I did struggle with it, to be fair, for a bunch of reasons, but I haven't even looked at the second season yet. But yeah, it's not doing that great, and we'll see what happens. So you woke up in a cage, missing a body part, surrounded by an invisible fence with a tracking chip planted under your skin. Yeah, I'd wear a tinfoil hat too. What I lack in vocabulary, I make up for in, stuff and things. Let's see if I can find a nice bit of music. Let's try this one. Try this one. I need to find like some circus music or something. True, eh? So one thing you can do for a full moon ritual, if you haven't got one already, is to have a bath. Build a ritual around a bath on a full moon. Most of us in the modern world are taking showers, but immersing yourself in the water and rebirthing yourself, like giving yourself almost kind of like a baptism, kind of, but not quite. Heads, shoulders, knees, and crows. I am so grateful for people that make memes. Bless them. Too many authors to cite? No problem et al. At all et al. Good-unch. So this is for all my friends in the Northern Hemisphere. Yeah, when it was getting the darkest here, I mean, New Zealand's kind of at a pretty low latitude, but obviously the more south you go, the darker it gets earlier and things like that. I've never been to a country where, like, that's like that has basically almost 24-hour sunlight. That's a really strange phenomena for me to consider. I'll just put them up. Yeah, isn't this the truth, eh? Who else is gonna do it? Sometimes you'll have a friend that'll nudge you. Bungee jumping. Someone's going to push you off the bridge so you can do it. I don't want to do it. Let me give you a hand with that. I just found this one bizarre. Whatever about the drugs. This was just, I just don't understand. Some of these things were just so bizarre. I thought I'd put it up. Oh, this is my favorite. So we've got a declining birth rate on the planet. I'm not sure if it's right across the planet, but I've seen it present in places like Japan and Australia on the official graphs. And so, yeah, get out there and make some babies, guys, because it's funny how the people who are telling us that the world's got too many people in it are also, yeah. I'll just leave it there. It's just funny. They're just, yeah. Building a comfortable prison. Oh, this is great. Will you have another one? Nah, too much responsibility. Don't want to end up like Jupiter. How many moons does Jupiter have? Let's have a quick look. I think it's like, must be close to 50 or something. I know a lot of them are just really rocks and things, sizable ones, but 95 moons that have been officially recognized. My goodness. Wow, that's pretty serious. I just love this. Sorry, like I said, not metaphysical necessarily, but pretty clever and funny. This is good. This is bringing together two things. Yeah, you got to kind of wonder what was going through. Like, yeah. Maybe they were doing some break dancing to violin solo. Oh, I don't know. For Mummy, for Daddy, for Frodo. I love it. For those of you that can decrypt this one. Exactly. All right, that's enough of that. So that was a nice little departure for the moment. So yeah, what else is going on? Oh, well, I've got a an interview with Mark Stavish again tomorrow, just myself and Mark. So that'll be fun. I've also lined up some other interviews. I've got David Paul Coleman coming up at the end of the month, and I've been really looking forward to talking to David. He's like he's just wonderful to listen to. He's such a great speaker. He's just so relatable, and I, I'm not going to attempt to attribute it to anything because I've only just met the gentleman, but he brings such a like his ability to talk about astrology is just makes just so much sense. He's just a wonderful explainer of things, and it reminds me of Peter Deshemin, from Metamagic Matrix, with tarot and things. He's just such a great, just so great to listen to. Who else have I got coming up? I have tentatively booked. Everyone's just really busy, eh? This is the thing is that, all this stuff takes time. And everyone out there that's an active teacher, if you it's like being a guitar teacher, you have to ensure that you've got work coming up. If you're self-employed or an entrepreneur, you've got to make sure you've got work coming. And this is where it's at. You got to do this. And so people giving me their time to come on the show, it's mutually beneficial. But yeah, I'm very grateful. So who else have I connected with? I've actually got a list here. I don't want to give too much away. I'll leave some surprises. But hopefully we're getting Didi and Armand on from Chi Skills. They've been on a couple of episodes of The Barden. And Manuela and Michael from Hermetic Mastery. They will be coming on to do just a hangout chat with me sometime in the next bunch of weeks. I've got a note keeping in touch with Ray Del Sol. He's keen to connect as well, so that'll be fun. I haven't met Ray as yet in this format, so I'm looking forward to that. And there's a few others too, but we'll get there one thing at a time. But yeah, I guess I might just leave it there, actually, guys. I'm feeling a bit peckish. It might be time to go and grab something to eat. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in, and I hopefully enjoyed the presentation today and some of the conversation. You can go to the Substack if you want to get some ad-free versions of these videos. I'll upload them regularly, and there's no ads, and you can cast it to your TV, and there's lots of other benefits too. And if you give me your email address, we can stay in direct contact as well, and I can give you updates through that method. Like I said, I think YouTube's blocking little bits of my things from listening to people who have turned on notifications and things. It's just the way it is. You just got to work with it, I guess. Do the best under the situation. So yeah, so thank you everyone. I'll leave you there. You have a beautiful day, and I'll see you all again very soon. Stay well.